Hey everybody, welcome to Wednesdays Live here on the Urban Gardener. I want to thank you all so much for joining with me here today, especially all of you who are joining with me live, but especially all of you too who are joining us on the replay. I'm really glad to see all of you here with me today, and please get in the chat box. Let me know where you are, where you're growing from. Let me know what you got going on in your garden, maybe today, this last week, if you got something going on. If you have any questions for me or anything like that, please let me know. And it's good to see you all. I'm just kind of catching up with things here, getting this live stream set up and everything. Just a really, really busy week for me today, or today, busy week today. But just a really busy week for me this last week, and been getting just a ton of things done. The weather in my area has just been perfect. In fact, almost too perfect. Some of the spring flowers are not liking some of the real harsh sun that they're getting right now too. I was just out looking at some of the tulips, and they're just right in the direct sun, and so I kind of moved something in the way to shade them out just a little bit there too. Hopefully that they'll be able to last just a little bit longer, but that sun was just kind of getting the fringe just a little bit there too. So again, thank you all so much for joining with me, and if you can, hit that thumbs up. Give this video a like if you're here. Just let me know you're here, and get in the, where is it, chat box, the chat box. I never know is it which direction, but get in the chat box there, and let us know you're here. And it looks like hola, we've got Chris with us here from Mexico. Loved having you here with us, Chris. Thanks for joining with us. And let's see here today, like I said, I was just getting out and doing a lot of just the after winter weeding, and this year it's just, there's a ton of it, so I've been kind of doing a lot of that, getting things cleaned up, arranged, plus shooting a bunch of different videos too. So I've been trying to collect as much content as I can on some of the different projects I'm working on, and some of the different things that we're going to be having growing on in the garden here this year. You know, a lot of the similar things, especially for Chris and those who have been following along with our channel for over the years now. We've been doing this channel for 4 years. I can't believe that. We talked about that in the last live stream though. But 4 years we've been doing the Urban Gardener, and so you know, there's a lot of the similar things that we grow in the garden. I'm just going to try to improve on some of the methods, and try maybe some different things with some things that didn't work out as well. So you know, that's a good reason to follow along with us too. So if you're here and you haven't subscribed to the channel at all, you know, get down and hit that subscribe button, as I say in the videos. You know, follow along with our garden adventure. And you know, it's let's see. Chris says, got some dill sprouting. Fresh dill is sold here, but often it's fennel. Get dill, fennel for dill. Yeah. Well, I've got an area too in my garden this year too, which is going to be something that's new, which is something I wanted to kind of show in a video coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Is an area kind of right up front to the side. Some of the things are changing with the front yard area and some of that. I got something else to talk about that too here in just a little bit as well. But yeah, I got some different changes and some things that I'm doing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an herb garden. So you talk about dill. I want to get growing some of my own fresh dill, and all of my herbs basically. I've got a couple of different things like rosemary, and I've got some oregano in a couple of different places of the garden. But I just kind of want one kind of centered area that's just kind of right outside of the kitchen, you know, so kind of walking outside of the kitchen. You just walk right out alongside of the house here, and then have a really cool herb garden. So there's a lot of really cool herbs that I want to grow. Maybe there's some that you guys know of that I haven't, that I'm not thinking of, that you could suggest to down in the comments section if you're here watching the replay, or in the comment box if you're watching with us live. So it's really great to have you all with us today again. We're talking about growing herbs. I'm growing an herb garden, so that's going to be cool to show. I can't wait to make that video and show that area and all of that. Some kind of fixing up some of the things that are just kind of directly out the door, kind of like the idea of a kitchen garden. But if anybody knows my place and where I grow, right outside of my kitchen, right outside of my door is an alleyway. So we've got different raised beds that we grow alongside of the alleyway there and kind of alongside of the house, especially, which is kind of actually just right up front here, right up back behind us right here. And we're gonna have a whole area set there too, and I've got an idea for another water feature. I'm gonna kind of set up. I'm kind of having fun with that too in the garden. You know, besides growing the vegetables and the food and all of that too, I kind of like to do some of the other kind of fun things. I've been working on, you know, like flowers and water features. Last year, I put in a couple of water fountains. All right, not sure what happened there with that. So it looks like that we're back on. Thought maybe it might have been a connectivity issue with my computer because that's kind of something I've been having an issue with there. So hopefully the Wi-Fi is strong enough or whatnot. That might be kind of the situation. Maybe I need to get a new router or something like that too to get stronger signal on that. Let's see here. Yep, Chris. Yeah, the stream totally died. Been kind of having some issues with that and all here with the newer phone and possibly like I was just mentioning my router too. So um, all right, but we're back up and running there, and really glad that you're all joining with me too. Again, like I said, join up in the chat box and let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're growing from. Let you know what you got going on, and all right. Again, I apologize for that, everybody. Hopefully, it doesn't keep happening. You know, again, just having issues with connection. I think possibly just the Wi-Fi and possibly the connection with the live stream there. So hopefully we don't have too many more problems with that, and we can keep this live stream going. Yeah, I'm not too sure exactly what it is. Again, I had some issues with a live stream several weeks ago that just seemed to be the Wi-Fi or the signal. I've got a really new phone, and yeah, hello again. Yeah, I know. This one's just having a hard time continuing to go. I've had, all right, well, this might actually just be my computer now, so I don't know. We'll see if I can't get that. It says that we're going at the moment, so let me know if I'm still going right now or not. I got seems just seems like nothing really wants to work quite the right way right now too. It's really sorry everybody. I really apologize for that. I mean, if this continues going, I might have to shut down and just figure out what the issue is. But hopefully, I've changed some settings, so hopefully that might work a little bit better. And and then that way I can see here. I use the camera phone for the live stream because it's got a really decent camera on it. When you point it the other direction, whether or not some things are actually going live or not or happening. Um, Hopefully, let's see. Yes, there's a point here. Epazote. It's similar to Mexican oregano, but really great with beans. Oh, nice. That's something that probably grows really well down in the climate down there in Mexico too. There, epazote, I would say, it's my best shot at the translation there with that. But like Mexican oregano, yeah, that would be something. I wonder if you can grow it up as far north as this. Um, but yeah, and let's see here. Try and catch up on some of these on the comments there. David Huerta, it's nice to hey, thanks for joining me, man. Hopefully the live stream's up and running all right for everybody. And thanks for sticking with me there for a minute there. Hopefully we'll be able to continue going. Hopefully our signal's going to be all right. And let's see here. David Horta says, "How's my blood orange tree doing?" Oh wait, I jumped ahead a comment there, but I'll just talk about the blood orange tree too for a moment. And yeah, I didn't. I don't know. If I gave. I think I talked about the blood orange tree in like one of my garden tours that I did last year, or at some point in time. But yeah, the blood orange tree was just something that, with even all of my and sometimes I don't have, and it's like with almost anything, you know, some of us are really good at growing certain things, and growing other things seems to be an issue. But the issue more so with the blood orange is that just, I think the, you know, for me, the winters were really difficult, and the tree was big enough that it wasn't easy to be transporting in and out. So I tried a few methods of just trying to keep the blood orange alive during the winter time outside. So basically, oh boy, let's see here. I hope that's just my computer. But anyways, I tried a few different methods to try to keep the tree warm throughout the winter time. Early on, the first like winter or two that I had it, I did keep it inside. It became an issue with pests because it's really hard to deal with, you know, bringing soil in a tree that's been outside all summer long like it had been. So you know, there was just a lot of issues with trying to make it work for my climate and for the situation where I lived in at the same time for that tree. I'd really like to be able to grow maybe some more citrus that would be more um, um, capable of growing within my climate, be able to handle some of those just cooler winters that, you know, are just a little bit cooler. You know, I got the blood orange tree, and if you watch this channel or caught this channel through the video I did with Martine Bouchot, where I he gave or we got that blood orange tree there, and we planted that out, and you know, it's you know, it was Martine Borchot's in Sacramento, so that's like a whole different growing zone, you know, south of where I am and all of that too. So, you know, there were a lot of those issues, and ultimately, when it came down to it, the tree didn't make it through a couple of different issues that I was having, trying to keep it going, and so you know, again, I'd like to probably like to find some more. Citrus, orange or lemon or something like that that would be able to grow better within my zone versus something that I really have to like take care of during the winter time like that. And let's see here. You also said still waiting on some pepper seeds to arrive. When's the latest you should start seeds? Um, you know, pepper seeds and peppers do take a little bit of time to grow. I I like to get an early start. I haven't gotten an early start on a couple of seasons of growing peppers right here on the channel even, and we've grown some pretty good plants and got some pretty good harvests from some of our varieties that we've grown throughout the years, where I've even gotten a later start. So I'd say, you're still you're still well within a good window of being able to get some pepper plants going and started and all of that. Mine I got going, just a little bit earlier than what I usually do, and then even next year I might even get them even earlier if I can too. And I just like to give them a really good start and a good head start of growing before they go out into the garden later in the season. And so, like I was saying too, that's going to be one of the videos I'm going to be working on here and shooting some video for in the next couple of days is a pepper video to where we're going to transplant those pepper seedlings that I planted out in our live stream a few weeks ago. And so we'll plant out those peppers, get them set up. I got a new lighting set up for them. It's going to be one of my first transitions towards LED lights. So those new peppers and new pepper plants in our pepper garden are going to take advantage of some of our new LED lighting that we got for them. So that and some other things throughout this next year, I'm going to hopefully be able to change a lot of our lighting out throughout the house into LED lights. And let's see here. David says, cool channel. Well, thanks, David. I really appreciate that. I hope you enjoy some of the videos that we've put out, and I've got several more coming up for this season. I'm working on some other ideas and stuff. A lot of everything that we're doing right now is kind of restricted to just right here at home. Work on a few things where we can get out and do a couple of kind of outside of our home garden videos as well, especially as things start to open up more as we move along. Hopefully that'll happen and we'll be able to do some of that stuff. And then we can start really looking at some of those really cool, fun projects that I really like to put together for videos for the urban gardener. It's getting out there and visiting other gardeners, visiting other YouTube gardeners, social media gardeners, and people just doing cool videos and seeing how other people are doing what they're doing. And we've done other videos like visiting with Nick down in LA with his radio show, Nick Federoff, and doing that sort of thing. So, catching up with people who are just within the gardening community or some of these really cool gardening projects and garden things within the garden sphere, I guess. I don't know, but I do like to just get out there and see some of this stuff, and some of the things that really just interest me, outside of my own home garden. And so there's a lot of stuff I want to go check out. I want to go see. So having this channel, it's a great opportunity to just kind of share some of that. So as I'm able to go check out and see some of these really cool things and do some of these things, I could take all of you along with me, and you guys can see some of those cool projects and things that I've gotten to go check out. Like one of our first trips and first excursions, and this another cool thing with doing this sort of thing is it expands some of the people I get to know, the friends that I get to have within the gardening community. One of our first excursions was up in Portland. There's a restaurant and wine bar that is just now, I think, in their area, Portland, able to open up, in a certain small way, but they're finally getting to open up and offer some of the veggies and things that they grow on their rooftop of that building. It's like a 4-story building in downtown Portland, and they literally grow the things that they serve in their salads and some of their side dishes and all that sort of stuff right there in the restaurant below. And so that was a really cool thing, and that really got, and going and doing that, I got to meet up with Mark Boucher Colbert, who is just this really great garden teacher there in the Portland area, and he's got a couple of other things going on with like microgreens and the things that he does with his urban garden and urban gardening and all of that as well, as some of the other things going on around the idea of the rooftop garden there in Portland too. So, getting to know Mark was a really great opportunity within another opportunity, which is also something I can bring all of you guys along with me too. So again, that's me just starting to ramble on about all that sort of stuff. But hopefully, all of you who are viewing and watching and tuning in, either right now live or with us on the replay, get a chance to go back and check out some of those really cool videos that we've done, and and gotten to do some of those really cool visits. There's the Million Drops when we got to meet Charles Malky down there in Los Angeles, which was another really good one. There's just so many of them. I have to think of, in fact, you can see a lot of some of those different people we've got to meet up through the different things that we've done in that video I just put out this last week, celebrating the 4 years of our channel. And that was one of the things that while I was editing that up was really kind of just, to me, it was like, wow, in 4 years we've gotten to do all of this really cool stuff and meet all these really cool people, and also build this really cool audience here for this channel. And it's really cool to have my small little corner of the gardening world right here on the Urban Gardener, to be able to share all of that with you guys. And so I really appreciate all of you who tune in and follow along with me, and are always hitting that thumbs up button or getting in the comments section and let me know that you're here and all of that. I really appreciate all of that. It really makes doing all of this worth it, to get that sort of response from people about some of the things that we're doing and some of the projects that we got going on. So hopefully COVID's going to move on here real soon, and we'll be able to get out on the road and go do some of those really cool projects, that are just out there waiting. I've got a whole list of some. People I've contacted, things like that that I've had, kind of in the works for a while, that we're just waiting on, kind of how things are going. So hopefully, possibly some really cool projects, coming up later this season. So um, keep tuning in, or watch this space, or whatever, the term you want to think of, but keep coming back. Let's see here. Sorry to hear about the blood orange. Yeah, yeah. It was a really, it was a bummer, because it was one of those things that was really testing my gardening skills, my ability to be able to keep this tree alive, or find different solutions that could really kind of manage that. But ultimately, what I found was that over the short period of time where I wasn't having complications with pests. Like I said, that was a real bad issue over a couple of the winter seasons, and some other things. There was a couple of points where I was thinking, that I might be able to get it, and figure it out, but the tree just was not going to do it, and just really you know, didn't make it. But hopefully, again, like I said, I'll be able to get some other sort of citrus trees and all that going too, because that's a great segue to talking about trees, is what I wanted to kind of hit on here next as well too. Because I think you said thank you for responding, and absolutely, you get in the comment section and or down below as well too. I'll respond to any questions or comments or anything like that. Just let me know what you got going on. Let me know if you have any questions for me. Heck, let me know if you got some ideas for some things that we could do in the garden or anything like that too. I'm always open to hearing how things work out for you in your garden, and that sort of thing, or different things that you found, really work well for you, because that's just really one of the things that we do. Is another thing I want to talk about here coming up as well, is sharing information with each other, and doing that through these sort of ways, and through different other gardening social media as well too, can be a good thing and can be a really bad thing too. So that's something I want to get in and talk about here in just a little bit as well. But talking about trees, still moving on from the blood orange tree, I do have a peach tree that I planted up a couple of seasons ago, that we did on some of the videos as well too, which is doing really great, and I can't wait to show you guys some of the progress that tree has made. And again, I'm growing these trees in containers. That's kind of the limitations, and we're using the idea of urban gardening, not having the ability to have the space to be able to plant a tree out myself. I'm utilizing some containers. So I've got a peach tree that's doing really well, and I'm noticing that our apple trees are starting to really start to put out some leaves now and starting to grow. So, the ones in the back, maybe I might have to think about another location. I'm not too sure yet, but they're just a little bit just a little bit though, behind the one that we have up on the side here that possibly gets just a little bit and longer amounts of sun throughout the day. So maybe I might think about moving and putting them in a different location other than that spot as well, in order to get them a little bit more sun. But the apple trees are coming along, and they're getting ready to grow and coming out as well too. And so I'm really kind of glad to see that, especially the peach tree. You know, the peach tree. I got that all set up and planted out, and it had a decent growing season the first season, and of course it didn't get anything and wasn't expecting anything that first season as it was first planted out. But the second season I was kind of worried because I'd only gotten one peach. And I think if you followed along last year, I kind of showed it a couple of different times in a couple of videos about that one peach, and it grew and it grew and it ripened up really well. It was a delicious small peach, and it was great, but it was just one. So, you know, and possibly that's really, you know, all I should have expected and all of that too. You know, it was still just kind of like, you know, in its first few years of being growing. You know, of course it did have its time growing when it was grafted and grew out from there in whatever nursery that it was in for, you know, the period of time before it got to me as well too. But this year, lots of flowers, lots of growth. I'm really excited about possibly getting a really good harvest off of this container peach tree. So follow along, check out that as well too, and also, you know, the apple trees. I'm really interested in seeing how they're doing. They were a bit older trees as well that I bought from the garden center that I bought them from this last season. So I'm really kind of hopeful that you know, this season we'll get some really good growth and maybe even see some fruiting and that sort of thing. But again, it is what I'm basically going to consider, because I got those kind of late in the season last year. Kind of considering this my first season with them, so no expectations with the apple trees. Just like to see some good growth, and then hopefully we'll get some good apples this next year after that too as well. And then again, I also have a pear tree that I picked up the other day. I picked up a pear tree as well too, so we're going to be potting up a pear tree as well here in an upcoming video, and you know, those sort of things. So check that out, see how we handle the pear tree, how we take care of all of that, how we get that sort of thing started. And let's see here, we've got the obsessive gardener. Hey, thanks for joining us from Watsonville, California, Zone 9B. In fact, Zone 9B would have been a great place for that blood orange tree we were talking about just a little bit ago, though, too. You know, that tree would have done a lot better in that zone, but not as well in mine. But thanks for joining with us. I really appreciate all of you who are joining with me here. Those of you who are getting in the chat, asking some questions, let me know what you got growing on. And if you're not here live as well, or you're watching the replay, again, write down in the comment section too. And I will get back with you there too. It's one of the things I really do like, is being able to communicate with all of you out there who are watching the channel or watching the different videos. So please let me know what you're thinking of our videos, what you think about what we got growing on, and really love to hear from all of you guys. And then let's see here. I found a peach tree seedling volunteer in my raised bed about an hour ago. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. A nice little volunteer. That's one of my favorite things, and I talk about that a lot too, about the garden and all of that around here too, is I love the volunteers. You know, I don't know if I would actually be too sure about, you know, growing out and trying to get something from a peach tree volunteer necessarily. That's something that you can always try and see what you get. I just, if I did grow that plant, I don't think I would necessarily grow it with expectations at all and that sort of thing as well. But you know, it's cool to grow, you know, a lot of things, and I did that a lot when I was younger too. You know, just taking apple seedlings from apples that I had, or taking, you know, the pits from peaches, or you know, the seeds from different oranges and lemons and things like that, and just grew out those plants and all of that. But it is not the ideal way of actually growing a tree or growing something for fruit if you're looking for that. Best thing to do is to actually kind of in line with what we were talking about with the blood orange tree earlier, is find some trees and some varieties that grow well within your zone. So know your zone, and then go to your nursery. Talk about some of those sort of trees that you can grow in your zone that grow really well, and then and then whether or not, like you said, growing within the ground or in a container, like I'm doing here on our channel as well. So I'm growing most of mine within containers. And so at that point, I'm looking for more dwarf sized varieties. They're grafts. These are going to give me my best results for getting fruit out of them in the best period of time. And that's another thing about growing a tree, especially a fruiting tree from seed, is even if it did ultimately work out and give you some sort of viable fruit of sorts, you're talking about years of waiting. So, but the fun in growing anything and just having that sort of thing growing is really excellent. I love those sort of things. I have actual tree seedlings and things like that have sprouted up around the garden that I'm still growing in pots and containers around the place as well too. That I just enjoy having around the garden. So that's something there as well. And let's see here, Chris, I shared a link in the Let's Get Growing Facebook group on the Instapot hack to speed up seed germination. Excellent, excellent. That's a great segue, Chris. Thank you very much. Appreciate you mentioning that there too, as well too. So Chris has put a link there for a method he's got there with the Instapot and seed germination too, that you can check out on our Facebook group. Thanks for mentioning that too, because I probably would have completely forgot about that. We have down in the links below in the description, there's a link to our Facebook group on Facebook. So I encourage any of you who are watching this, we're watching here with the live stream, we're watching now, or watching on the replay, get down in the description there and check out that link to our Facebook group. Come on and join us in our conversation. Share your gardens, share some pictures, share some tips and methods and things that might have worked out for you, like Chris has in the Facebook group. So great on you, Chris, there for sharing there too. Really like to see everybody kind of communicating with each other and really bringing this community together here through this channel. Like I mentioned, we just got this nice little corner of the gardening community going on here, and I really just enjoy a lot of the contributions all of you have brought to this channel and everything that we're doing. So please keep that up. Join the Facebook group if you haven't. It's right down in the description below. And yeah, check out that tip that Chris has shared with everybody there too as well, and all the other cool things. We've got some members sharing all their gardens and all of that. We've got some members who are newer to gardening asking questions, so maybe there might be tips or things like that if you need, or might possibly give somebody else as well too who is join the group to find out how to better their garden in this season too. And let's see here. David says, I'd like a video on pineapple plants and possibly peony trees, fig trees. Well, fig trees I possibly could do for you there. I'm not sure about the peony trees. It's something I could look into as well. Fig tree is something that I've actually been wanting to do. I did try something that didn't necessarily work out shortly with a neighbor who has a fig tree in their front yard, although that situation kind of changed up a little bit. So I haven't been able to go back yet and kind of find out whether or not I could do something more. I was thinking about maybe doing an air, uh, like a air kind of prune or an air situation where we're kind of cutting up a piece of the main tree from one of its branches, but getting a root system to grow on it first before we cut it off from the tree. So there's some of those sort of things that I've been thinking about doing. Air layering, I think is what it's called. But I've been wanting to try that out with that tree, but possibly another one too. A friend of mine has a neighbor of his that has one that I might possibly approach about doing that as well. If not, I might actually just find a fig tree of my own that's already potted and already get it done, because I could possibly do that. I don't know about pineapples and pineapple plants. That's just something that I'm not going to be able to do within my region. I don't think I could possibly create the conditions indoors. I do have If you see kind of the black kind of there on the side there, that is an indoor tent, and I could manipulate some conditions and possibly work on doing some of that. But that's going to really be testing some of my gardening skills, and maybe do something like that as well too. It could be done. I know it can be done, but as far as like growing it within the regular garden or doing anything like that, yeah, pineapples are not going to work for me. I do know that pineapples do take a long growing seed period. It's going to take a couple of years in order to get a good ripe pineapple fruit off of a pineapple plant. But you can just cut off a pineapple top and actually grow the plants right from the top of a pineapple. That is one of those things that another kind of good segue too is that you see a lot of things online and a lot of the different groups and a lot of the different places on social media if you're in gardening groups and all of that, and people will kind of post some of these things they see. And usually the thing I like to warn people mostly about is if you see something that's kind of in like some, I don't know if you call it a meme or not, but if it's in a meme sort of situation, it's not someone personally sharing something. I find that when people are personally sharing some things, showing you pictures of their own garden and all of that, those are more kind of genuine in a sense. But I just see a lot of like misinformation going around a lot. There's just a lot of new gardeners who turn to some of these groups and some of these places in social media are finding some of this. And I like to be able to kind of get out there and voice a little bit and say no or watch out or find some different research in order to figure some of those things out too. And I could talk specifically to go back to our um, Facebook group. There was a post on our Facebook group earlier, and I never really blame people for sharing and doing a lot of things, but I do kind of wish there was just a little bit more research that was able to be done. But that's kind of difficult for a lot of people, and I understand that. So a lot of information you're wanting to take, when you see it in a gardening group, you think that, this is being shared amongst the group, it's there, and then, a lot of times don't, there's just administrators or people who are not able to get to, or it hasn't been reported yet. And then there's a lot of things that literally will happen. And the thing that kind of I think gets to me the most is when something that'll come up in a sort of misinformation that's come up and been put out there almost on purpose. But a lot of people start agreeing about that sort of thing, and talking about how they think it's a great idea, something they're going to try. And you get a lot of comments that are on a positive level about that sort of thing. And then people just really take it to be some truth. And that's what I kind of found with that post that was on our group earlier too. And I put in the comments and wanted to really kind of let people know. I put in also a link to Oregon State University, that Oregon State University Extension, which did a lot of different research and trials of this actual method that was actually put out by another researcher. And in the long run, they could not duplicate the results of what the original research was at all. They tried over and over again in multiple different ways and could not duplicate it at all, and found it to be just kind of not actually what people would want it to be. And it's, I think, using cornmeal gluten or something like that. I'd have to look. I don't have the actual post here. I should kind of look it up, but using this for a weed deterrent. And in the long run, Oregon State University found that it could, in some sense, work as a weed deterrent in a somewhat healthy lawn, I guess you would say, because you could add this to it, and what it has is a lot of nitrogen. And so, because there's a lot of nitrogen in this stuff, you can spread it into a somewhat healthy lawn. That's going to really boost its health. That nitrogen is going to really get it going, and it's really going to choke out any ability for weeds to grow. So in that condition, you possibly could see it working as a sort of weed deterrent. But what they found mostly was that there was just really high levels of nitrogen in it, and that in the long run, what it was doing was putting just too much nitrogen into whatever spaces and growing spaces that they were using in their trials. And the larger worry at that point in time is why a lot of us really promote organic growing and organic gardening, is because using a lot of some of these really high octane type fertilizers the Miracle Grows and that sort of thing like that. Those sort of things are just really high in nitrogen, which when it starts getting into the soil, starts turning to nitrate, seeps into our water tables, is just not really a good thing in the long run at all when it comes down to it. So ultimately, they found that it wasn't really a good idea, and that idea was not a good idea. So hopefully, there's a lot of gardeners who are in the know, kind of speaking out and really helping people to see some of this stuff. But social media is what it is. So when it comes down to it, uh, these posts and these sort of things are going to exist amongst groups, amongst different places, and they're going to be there. And unless there's somebody to speak up and say, hey, no, this isn't true, and give some people some sort of way of understanding or leading them to some research that they could help them understand that that's not true, that sort of thing. If that's not there, and you don't really see, it's hard to really trust certain things. So when it comes down to it, you need to really ask some gardeners, some people who you can really trust. One of the places, and that's why I mentioned this research from Oregon State University Extension, these are people who really work and trial a lot of these things that we hear about in our gardens. And a lot of these things that are being passed around, they are a great place and a great resource. And a lot of us have these university extensions near us. So I would encourage people, if you're really not that knowledgeable about some things, or you really want to question something, you could reach out to a local extension, or almost any extension. Just type in extension, university extension in Google. I'm sure you can find some ways of contacting some locally. But if not, I'm sure that even if you didn't live in Oregon, that my local extension would love to probably even give you some answers and help answer some questions if you emailed them or wanted to contact them in any sort of way to know whether or not something you want to try is actually good. Because ultimately, if it's something you haven't done before, you want to have some good information about it before you're trying it in your garden. You don't want to have some really negative results. One other one I was going to mention, which gets passed around every single year. I see it every single year. It just really gets to me sometimes. But it's this meme picture of two different peppers. And one of the peppers, it has four lobes, and the other pepper, it has three lobes. And one wants to tell you that it's a male versus a female, and that one is sweeter or something, or one is this and that, and they're trying to give you this misinformation, and it pops up every single year in different groups, in gardening groups. And when it pops up in the pepper lovers community, which I mentioned and talked about, because Kang Starr joined with us in a live stream a couple of weeks back, in his pepper community. You get something like that shows up there. You've got a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about growing peppers. It's really something that you can get a lot of good knowledge from. When something shows like that, you get a lot of people who will just show. You'll just read the comments and go, okay, that's absolutely not true. But you go to another gardening group where people are just, we're a gardening, or gardening for everyone, or just these general gardening groups where it really would attract some really new gardeners and new people, or newer people to gardening, or some gardeners who just haven't tried or have known some of these methods, and something just sounds good to them, so they want to go along with it as well too. And but you see a lot of that, and so you see a lot then in those comment sections is people who just go along with that and talk about how this and how they didn't know that. Thanks for the information and all that sort of stuff. And every time I see someone say, thanks for the information, I just really worry about somebody going away with some really bad, misleading information that's out there, without really being able to properly do some research. You ever see that one with the pepper of 4 lobes and 3 lobes? That's completely false. It's literally, that one is one of those that are put out there specifically by somebody who meant for people to fall for some sort of misinformation. And so I'm sure those people who ever create those sort of things get that chuckle when people are really following along with it as though it's actually real or not. So I try to get in and say something when you can, if you do know something, but really when it comes down to it, so those sort of things are really best done by reaching out to some people that you really know, who might know best about that information. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that. I just I really don't really go for that sort of stuff very much. I don't like that. The gardening community is a really great community with a lot of great people. And there are people that just join in, or I guess we call them trolls, or people like that who just jump into any sort of community or any sort of thing anywhere, and will just kind of try to stir things up and stir things going up, like that. And that's some things you'll find out there. But for the most part, I find that centering myself in the gardening community, around gardening and all of that, when it comes to social media, I find that to be a more pleasant place than actually being in other parts of social media where, just too much misinformation just freely being passed around without any sort of, you know, I don't know, any gates or anything, or do we really want some when it comes down to it? Anyways, that's a whole nother subject, a whole nother hour of talking about something else. But let's see, Chris said that apples from seed will never work the way you want. Yes, that's true. And a lot of those just seeds from a lot of fruiting trees like that are probably that way. I'm sure some varieties of some really, I guess, traditionally grown, or and I'm not sure how that would really work. I suppose, I guess, I don't know if you call them heirloom trees or that sort of thing. I'm not really knowledgeable about that sort of thing, so maybe that there are some sort of things that could grow true to seed on some varieties. I mean, I don't know if apples possibly, or some other things possibly, but for the most part, I just wouldn't myself. I would just rather go to and get a grafted tree, get something that's really going to be more guaranteed to get growing for you and get growing for you really a lot sooner than waiting for something growing from a seed when it comes to a fruiting tree. You know, and at that point, the idea, I like growing a lot of things from seed because seed is just cheap. It's the cheapest way to go to grow most everything you want, and that's one of the things too. I just really go on a budget when it comes to a lot of stuff like that. So I like growing from seed from a lot of things. Getting starts is okay from certain varieties. When it comes down to it, I admit about brassicas. I don't know why I have the hardest time with seeds and brassicas and getting brassicas started. So a lot of time in my garden, I end up getting a lot of those sort of starts, that sort of thing. But at that point in time, I'm looking for really good deals and that sort of stuff, and not really finding some of those really good prices and stuff like that. So I like the idea of growing from seed, but when it comes down to trees or fruiting trees and that sort of stuff, I'm just going to buck it up, pay some dollars, and buy a grafted tree so that I can be guaranteed of some fruiting. And again, follow along with our channel too, for all of you who are here and following along with us live. And you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. Check out some of our videos that we're going to have coming up here later in this growing season too, where we'll follow along with some of these trees that I've got in containers, see how well some of them do. And again, like I mentioned, we do have a pear tree we're going to add to a couple of our apple trees, and we also have a peach tree that's looking really well that we planted out a couple of seasons ago too. So I'm really excited about those trees and getting some fruits coming up here in the next season. And some of our blueberries are starting to come back alive too, and getting ready to sprout out and grow really well too. So I'm kind of excited about those. They've been planted out for a few seasons now too, so hopefully we'll get some good harvests off those. But we've got just tons of things growing, tons of things going all over the garden. That's one of the things that really we talk about incrementally as we go through here on Wednesdays live. That's why I'm really glad to be able to do this live stream, kind of talk about some of the things that I don't get to talk about ultimately in the videos, but it's good to follow along with the videos where you get to really see what we're doing actually out in the garden, see this stuff actually growing, see some of the projects and things that we're putting together and all of that sort of stuff too as well. And so we're working on a lot of different things. I started out by talking about, as we were being interrupted and having some of those issues, but I was talking about right out here putting together an herb garden. So I'm going to be putting together an herb garden. We're working on getting that space together and doing quite a few different things. I've got a video I'll talk about kind of an issue, and you'll get to see something that kind of happened here, with some of the things we had. A plumbing issue with the with the building and the house here. So my front yard had to get tore up. So they had to rip up and bring in something and tear up the front yard and all of that. And so we've had to have someone come in and set up and mind you, the people I rent from, this is kind of like I'll say again, I'm a budget person. It's kind of a budget place in some sense. I just kind of got lucky with some of the spaces I have and how I was able to kind of make some of these things look and do all that sort of stuff too. But, they just hired some budget landscaper, and, I'll talk more about that in an upcoming videos. I'll show you what's going on out there with everything that's happened out there. But yeah, we've got a lot of things kind of changing and growing, and some new things. Possibly, some we were talking about. Someone commented about fig trees. Possibly that too as well. Got my eye out for that sort of thing because that's something I've been wanting to put out in that front space container again, not in the ground. I'm not going to be able to plant any sort of trees or anything again because I am a renter with my space. I won't be able to plant any trees within the ground. But this is an urban gardening channel. A lot of people don't have those sort of spaces anyways. So it's going to be really good for us to be able to see and work on and grow some of these things in containers and see how that works for us in some of our smaller spaces so that other people can be able to know that they can do that sort of thing in their smaller spaces as well. So I'm really glad to be able to share a lot of those sort of things with everybody as well in some of our videos. All right, thanks everyone for the tips. I will look you guys up on Facebook. Yes, absolutely, David. Thanks again for joining with us here on our live stream. We are at about the hour's time here. We'll be kind of closing things out here in just a minute. I know there's a few people who kind of joined in since the last little bit here. So if you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, get in the chat box there. Let me know here in the next couple of minutes, and we'll talk about some of that stuff here before I close out here in the next coming minutes as well too. And again, thanks again, David, for all of your comments. Thanks for joining with us in the conversation here. Really, really appreciate it. Chris, all of you guys, just obsessive gardener, and all of you just coming in and joining us. We're going to be doing this every single week, right here on Wednesdays, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time here on the Urban Gardener channel, and talk about all of our gardening, talk about what's growing on in our gardens, chat about whatever, and hopefully be able to put on a good live stream. We did have some complications there just a little bit earlier, so hopefully some of you stuck along with us, through the replay and all of that here as well too. And said thanks for the tips, and absolutely, I like to be able to pass and share along whatever tips that I possibly have and have learned myself, as well as learn tips from other people as well, and share those with you guys too, as we continue growing here. And David says, cool room. And he says, I can't grow blueberries to save my life. I know. I mean, well, I've kind of had some challenges with these plants that I have out here in their first couple of seasons. And I don't know, last year they seemed to grow pretty good. They're just starting to come alive. Blueberries really kind of, I always worry about a couple of the plants because they take so long in the season to start sprouting and start showing me that they're alive. But I worry about if they're dead every single year. But they always surprise me over the last couple of years and come to life. And last year I got a good harvest of blueberries off a few of the plants. So hopefully this year that'll be the case with all of the different plants, and we'll be able to have some really good blueberry harvests. And the key, and I'm not sure, as well too, and that's something as well. I've gotten a couple of different soil acidifiers that I'm using for, and I'll share those in an upcoming video when we talk about the blueberries again too, in order to make the soil just a little bit more acidic. The blueberry plants really prefer an acidic soil, so it's really a good idea to do that. So I don't know if you want to try blueberries again, possibly do them in containers or in some other space, but try some soil acidifiers in order to promote some really good blueberry growth within your plants. So if you want to try it again. I always encourage people, to keep on trying with some things. If you really want to grow them, you really enjoy them, if that's something you enjoy, unless it's just really something that's more complicated by your growing zone, as I've shared about that blood orange tree earlier.
And thanks again for the compliment about the room. It's a set up with a lot of the plants, and these are a lot of the nice house plants that I've got, that are, kind of my feature plants in a sense. I've got a bunch of others around as well too. But I really kind of like this setup. I like this for doing the live streams. It's got a lot of good life and green and all of that as well. Uh, and of course, the guitars. I did have someone ask me a while back ago about the guitars and all of that. No, I've tried playing guitar. That's why they're on the wall. You don't want to hear me play guitar, so that's not something I'll be doing and all of that. But but I do like them on there. It's a good feature and all of that as well too. But maybe someday. I've tried off and on throughout my whole life. I tried when I was a teenager. I just had that rock and roll dream when I was a teenager and wanted to learn how to play guitar. Couldn't put a tune together for the life of me. Tried again later on in my adulthood a couple more times. Never really worked out, but I still always kind of had that itch to really figure out how to play guitar. It's something that actually runs in my family, though, on my dad's side. Uh, they're very musical. There is musical genes that are supposed to be within me. I don't know where they went. They might have skipped me completely, but maybe I'll give it a try again sometime. Take them up off of the wall and give it a shot. But yeah, I've had people ask me about the guitars, but let's see. And Chris says it's small. Yep. Never miss Nancy in one of these. Yeah, Nancy actually sent me some messages about her laptop. She doesn't. Her laptop broke down on her finally. She's had kind of a used kind of laptop that kind of in and out, kind of sketchy on whether it works for her and all of that. So I really hope that maybe she'll be able to get something soon and get that figured out so that she can join with us when we do our live streams. It's really good to have her here. She's a big champion of our channel. She's one of my first subscribers that I have, and she's just followed along from the beginning. Just a really great champion of what we do here on the Urban Gardener. And so, yeah, really do want to see her be able to join these live streams again too, as well. And Jennifer, thank you for joining us and joining here real quickly as we're finishing up here. Unfortunately, it is about that time. I got to start thinking about moving on for the day. Got a lot of things that I still got to get finished up on the what I got started earlier outside. Like I said, I live on the alleyway, so I've got and was doing a bunch of weeding. So I've got some piles of weeds. They're out on my alleyways that I'm sure my neighbors are gonna want me to get cleared out. I love doing herbs indoors in my kitchen. I just bought a small tower to streamline it a bit. Excellent. Yeah, so that would be fun right there inside of the kitchen and all of that too, with like one of those towers. They got tower gardens, arrow gardens. You got a whole bunch of cool little other type of towers. I think I even saw at the dollar store they've got a couple of dollar store things that you can set up and tower up. You could even do that right there in your kitchen as well, with a couple of them right on your counter if you got some great lighting, and put in some herbs and different things that grow right there in your kitchen. I mean, that's the best spot really when it comes down to it. The herb garden I'm going to put out right here is going to be just basically right outside the door of my kitchen, which is just right over there. So I'm trying to center a lot of that sort of stuff, thinking about what's best accessible for me in my garden, especially right from the kitchen, right where you're growing. There's nothing better than being able to get it right from your kitchen, right there inside your kitchen too, as well too. I do grow microgreens and some of those things as well too that I do on a kind of a light tower kind of thing that I built with PVC that I've featured in a couple of videos, and it's in fact just kind of like right behind everybody right now. And that's where all my pepper starts and all my different starts that I've got going on. I've got sweet potatoes down there too. That's another thing. So you can tune in and check out what we do with some sweet potatoes I've got going on. Just a whole bunch of really cool things that we got going on. And thanks for joining us here too as well. You know, and getting on with us again, Jennifer. Hopefully you'll and everybody else too will join with us this next week on Wednesday. Wednesday every week at 5. These are the first couple of streams again for Wednesdays live that we've done in the last year. So, I've poked in a couple of times with a couple of different live streams that weren't really around Wednesday and all of that. in between the last Wednesday's live streams that we did last year. So this is kind of getting started up again. It's a whole new season, so it might take a few weeks before we can get some really good live streams going with some really great conversations and all of that. But you know what? It's great enough to have all of you with me who did join with me here live as well, and those of you who are getting down in the comment section down in the replay, because I really appreciate all of you guys who are coming in and joining with me here too. So hopefully all of you will come back and join with me again next week as we'll keep this going right here every Wednesday. And I think with that, I'm going to call it good here with this live stream. Again, thank you all so much for joining us.